You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
And we have world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes. Well, we're excited. We'll be getting to Mike Vincic in just a moment. He's a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute. But we just wanted to talk a little bit about Dr. Bonati and what they offer at the Bonati Spine Institute. And that is a great alternative to traditional spine surgery. You don't need huge 6 to 8 inch cuts. You can do something that's, like a quarter of an inch, probably less than that. Mm-hmm. And it can bring about such relief for the patients. We have people that have been told they will be wheelchair bound for the rest of their lives. We've had people that are on all sorts of pain medications. They've contemplated suicide because they weren't getting results they needed, and they were hearing time and time again there was nothing that could be done. Well, the one thing that was in common with all these people is they found the Bonati Spine Institute, and they came in and they got true patient pain resolve. We have 98.75% patient reported success. And that's even with people that have been through failed back and neck surgery elsewhere. So there is hope. With that said, we have an exciting program. We're going to have a gentleman on.
Very political show today, which I know Dr. Bonati will
politically
love.
Intensive. Yeah. We're going to be talking to someone about beyond politics, talking about
the roots of government failure.
Yes.
It deals a lot with economics and things like that, but it really ties together with how socialism just destroys society. And I know,
which we all knew.
I know Doc is just a huge fan of socialism.
Of course. And then we have another guest on that's going to talk about U.S. term limits, something we've been speaking about since the onset of the show. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we'll hear what's new in American medicine today. But up first,
in today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
My pleasure to introduce to the program Michael Vincic from Hudson, Florida. Thank you for being here in studio with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here today.
So why don't you start off by telling us, were you in an accident? What was the onset of your pain? Something degenerative in nature?
My problem with my back is degenerative. My dad has serious back problems for most of his life.
Sure.
And I had the same thing. And with all the sports that I played in my life, it probably made it a lot worse. I did some running, ran a marathon, which probably beat my back down more than what it needed to be beat.
I can imagine.
Yes.
And I lived in Hudson now for 2.5 years, and I've driven by Bonati Center many times, and I said to my wife over and over, one day I'm going in there and I'm going to have surgery in that place. and this year we made it happen.
You were a prophet. It was very prophetic. Well, how long did you live in pain like this?
I would say, and I never really gave it a lot of thought, but probably 15 to 20 years. And it got worse as I got older.
Okay.
And the last year or two is probably the worst it's been.
Sure.
And I had a lot of problems through the end of the year and the beginning of this year.
Why don't you tell everyone that's watching and or listening what that pain felt like? Where was it grabbing you, and was it localized? Was it a shooting, stabbing, or throbbing pain?
Much of my pain was in my lower back, down in the lumbar region.
Sure.
But many times it would, depending on how bad it would go down into my hip, mainly my left hip.
Okay.
And it would move down to my legs, sometimes causing me problems even in my knee.
Wow.
I remember I was playing softball just a few years ago, and I could hardly run. I would be going around the bases after I got a hit, and I was limping as I went around.
Oh, man.
And it was just... It got old, and it was time to do something about it.
Well, you sound like a real trooper. I mean, still running, you're
playing
playing
softball
sports.
After 15, 20 years of pain like that. And
Exactly.
why was that? Is it just the man syndrome where, like, I can live with it, I don't need to go see somebody?
Well, I always did just put up with the pain
Right.
and work through it.
Okay.
But I like playing sports.
Right.
I would love to be out there today playing softball or I like to pitch baseball, fast pitch. And,
Nice.
and I did so about 10 years ago.
Sure.
And I would like to be bowling again. I was a big bowler earlier in my life. So I just like the competition.
So when you were in that sort of pain, what did you do? Did you try conservative treatments? Did you try pain meds?
Kimberly, I did a lot of things. I went to a chiropractor once. he hurt me so bad that I said I would never go to a chiropractor again.
Yeah.
Many times I would live on tramadol, sometimes hydrocodone, I think it's called.
Right,
and,
yes.
And a lot of times I was on a heating pad, and I just lived through it,
And
worked through
nothing
it.
really helped that much.
It surely has.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Or it didn't
none of
at
those
that
treatments really helped very much.
Oh, those treatments,
Yeah.
no,
Correct.
they didn't
Right.
do the job.
So you said it progressively got worse towards the end of last year. Was that kind of the straw that broke the camel's back? Is that really what led you to seek out Bonati?
It was. And in 2015, I had 2 goals medically. One was to have my gallbladder removed, which I did in March of last year.
Wow.
And the other one was to have my back fixed.
Right.
And I got towards the end of the year, and I said, I can live with it longer. And then when things started going bad in November and December, and then January, it happened again, I said, I've got to take care of business.
Well, and you live right in Hudson, like
Yeah.
you said, so you
Yeah.
drive by the Institute constantly there on
Yeah.
Hudson Ave in 19.
Right.
So you finally said, I'm stopping in.
I did it.
And how'd that go?
Exactly.
What was the experience like when you first walked in?
The Bonati Center's fantastic. When you're dealing with the people from the very beginning, when I was emailing Jenna, to where I actually went there and met many individuals. I'm not going to name them all because I'll probably offend somebody by missing their name. But it was fantastic. They treated me almost like a king. Treated me good as I came in. Told me exactly what was going to happen. And to me, it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Well, and it relieves a lot of anxiety, I would imagine,
Yes.
because I don't like going to the doctor. My wife has to drag me anytime something's wrong with me, and I think a lot of people are like that. So to walk in, to see Paul, to see, like you said, everybody is very welcoming. They call you by name. They're expecting you. It probably just makes you that much,
More relaxed.
Yeah, more relaxed.
It did indeed. And for me, I had my MRI done one day, and I was like 3 days later, I was on the table having my back done.
Was it better for you to have everything localized like it is on the Bonati Spine Institute's campus? Because we do have our own diagnostic center.
Oh, that was tremendous because I was able to walk right out back and go to have the MRI done. I actually had 2 done. I had
Right.
one for my cervical and one for my lumbar, and I must say that the machine that they just got a brand new machine for
Yes.
MRIs, and 10 minutes in the machine and you're done with an MRI. It was
Yeah.
wonderful, and they did all the other work right there, and I didn't have to go anywhere else. It was really, it's a wonderful experience, so to speak. Even though you're going to live with some pain.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's a light at the end of the tunnel, too.
There is
So the more
light.
convenient the process, probably the better, I would say.
Okay, now I have to ask the evaluation. What was that like between you and the doctor when they were telling you what they saw?
My doctor was Dr. Uteg, and
Okay.
I got to give him a kudos. Dr.
Okay.
Uteg was wonderful.
Sure.
And I have to say, Dr. Bonati did do a little bit of work on me here and there. I never knew because I couldn't see him. But Dr. Uteg took the MRIs, put them up on the board, and he showed me going down the lumbars what was wrong in in 2 and 3, there was no problems. And he went to 3 and 4, lumbar 3 and 4, and he said, "Here's your problems."
Right.
He got to the next lumbar 4 and 5, and he says, "Now you tell me what the problems are." And I was able to tell him that this the little hole where the nerve, I don't know what it's called, but the little hole where the nerve goes through was crushed. And he says, "You hit it right on the nose." It was really neat because I learned a lot of stuff.
And you got to participate, really.
I did
Make your own
participate.
Yes.
diagnosis, if you will. It's really cool.
Now, let's take it to, well, let me ask you, when you found out that you were going to be interacting during surgery, did that bother you, or did you know why that was such a great thing to have done?
I kind of wished it wasn't like that because it's a lot easier to be out cold and not know what's
Right,
going on.
right.
But after going through them, it was. I can see why they do that.
Sure.
Because they're touching the nerves in there and it's causing pain in certain parts of your legs or wherever
Sure.
it may be. And it tells the doctor that he's either on the mark or he's not on the mark.
Yes.
Because especially with my last surgery, Dr. Uteg said to me that I was able to give him so specific areas where I was having problems that while he was in there, he actually touched the nerves and it was going right to the areas that that we discussed
Right.
prior to. So he said that made things work even
Yes.
better. But
Okay. Did you watch?
I did watch, and I enjoyed that very, very much.
It's fascinating when you see somebody and they're working on you, and then it almost removes you from the moment, and then you go, wait a minute, that's me. They're
Well,
touching me.
We got to remind people too that don't know what we're talking about.
Conscious IV
There's
sedation.
screens.
Yes.
You're conscious, and you can watch the surgery happening in front of you. And some people choose not to because
Right.
they're squeamish. Other people, like I would watch. I would definitely
Yes.
be interested in seeing that. So you, what did you think about that experience?
Oh,
Mike?
it was wonderful. I saw one time when they chipped the bone, and you could just see the bone kind of falling down real
Right,
slow,
right.
and you could see them when they were lasering, and it was interesting.
That's cool, right?
Very, very interesting.
Hey, Michael, you're such a trooper, man.
That's awesome.
So, when did you start to notice a relief of the pain that brought you in? Of course, you just had surgery, so you're going to have the surgery site pain, but that was different than the pain that brought you in.
Yes, and for me, the first surgery in L3-4 actually caused problems down in L5-S1.
Got it.
But the L3-4 pain and the problems were
Sure.
gone, but it created another one. And as soon as they did that, I got immediate
Right.
relief from this from the L5-S1.
Normally, one doesn't cause pain, but what happens is when people come in, and especially if they've waited 15, 20 years, problems compound. So there's always one kind of excruciating pain, and once that's resolved, the secondary pain that you weren't feeling to begin with comes to the forefront.
What else is crazy
Yes.
is you were saying you just had surgery this week, right?
1 week ago, I had
1
my
week
final
ago.
surgery,
And
and
you're in here with us.
I am in here. I'm feeling pretty good.
You look good. You sound
Great.
good.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is what makes the show and Dr. Bonati and the Bonati Spine Procedures something so incredible. It's really heartfelt from the patients when you see someone that was in pain and now they're doing so much better. There is hope. If you're suffering with neck, back, or sciatic pain, reach out to Bonati at Bonati.com or call 855-267-0483. Coming up, we're going to talk about the
Roots of government failure. And it has a
Yes.
lot to do with socialism.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Make sure you stay tuned. You're listening to American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati Spine Procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine Procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now, I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati Spine Procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery.
So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Junior Mint Jeff Wagstaff.
From the candy aisle.
And we have world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute.
I'm always here.
You are, and you are raring to go.
What's up, Doc?
Especially because joining us is Randy Simmons, Senior Fellow at the Independent Institute and author.
Oh, another senior fellow.
Author of Beyond Politics, The Roots of Government Failure. This is a topic you'll love, which details how when citizens request their government do more than is possible, wealth and freedom are diminished. Go figure. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being here, Mr. Simmons.
Of course.
Now, Randy, I was reading just the press release and things about your book. And your book is actually, we should clarify, this is an old book. It came out in like 1995, but you've updated it and revised it and re-released it. Now, the book itself deals a lot with economics and how a population that's dependent upon the government cannot survive. But it seems that we're headed more and more towards socialism, especially in the last 8 years. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I would. I was trying to think of a more polite way, but no, yes, I would.
You don't need to be polite on this case.
Yeah. Throw politeness out the door.
Both major political parties are moving sort of inexorably in the direction of bigger and bigger government. The Democrats might go a little faster than the Republicans, but they both do it. George W. Bush ended up claiming he was a big government conservative. I don't know what that means, but in terms of what it does to us as citizens is that we keep asking government to do more, and instead of saying, here's a small set of things that government can do well, we say, oh, government can fix that one and that and that and that, and we spend more money, and in many cases we end up worse off.
Yeah. Well, I always think that government doesn't do anything good. So to me, the only thing that they should have is some type of regulatory system where they look at the people who's doing the real job and put some regulations to avoid abuse. But that's as far as they should go.
Well, I'm a small government sort of. Well, in the United States, we can't use the word liberal because it means the opposite of what it ought to mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
true.
I'm a small government classical liberal.
Okay.
Well,
Randy,
still sounds bad.
Here's the part that I don't understand, is you pointed out very well that people continue to look at government to solve our problems, to do this and do that. The same government that gives us the post office, the same government that gives us the IRS, the same government that gives us the Department of Education, all of which are incredibly inefficient. So the average person with average intelligence can see that the government fails at anything that consists of efficiency. So why as a nation are we stupid enough to continue to look at the government to do things that they can't do?
Well, I need to interject here, because really what's going on is not the nation, is the amount of immigration system that is coming to the country. The Democrats are pulling incompetent, mediocre people that they don't have the language, they don't have love for the country. They only bring them over here with the idea of you're going to have benefits. And this is why we are changing. 40% of the population in the country is already practically receiving governmental care. So they are living practically with the sweat and work of the other 60%, and I really think it's getting bigger and bigger.
Well, one of the sort of political science answer is that everyone loves their own congressman; they just hate all the others.
Yeah, that's it.
And because every member of Congress works really hard to keep the people in his or her district happy, and that means spending more and more money on what goes on in that district. And by the time everybody does it, it adds way up. But it's only the other people's congressmen who are the bad ones. Ours we love. And the sort of constitutional constraints that used to exist, or even the sort of moral constraints that used to exist on what we use government for, have all gone away. And so we get all of the college students who are feeling the burn. And believing that what Bernie Sanders says is actually correct.
Right.
Well, that brings up a good point. Go ahead, Kimberly, because I know what you're going to ask.
Right, because the election is so critical that's coming up right now, and everyone's fearing what happens if either Hillary or Bernie Sanders gets elected as president.
Just
because
the further socialization
of America,
of this country.
Right. So can you tell us kind of... in regards to domestic policy and government assistance, what's going to happen if either one of them gets elected?
We will keep going in the same direction we've gone for the last 16 years.
And
I just
good.
What President Obama did is he just sped up the kinds of things that President Bush was doing. And so we'll keep going in that direction. One of these days, there will be a serious problem, like can we meet Social Security payments?
True.
And so you get all of the old people finally angry.
Right.
I don't know. I'm in some ways, in terms of the economy, I'm optimistic that and entrepreneurs will always find a way to work their way around government to make things better. But politicians they always see problems that they want to fix, and they think that it's right that government fix it.
Let me ask you something, though. You just brought up President Obama, and you said even Bush. Obama was fast-forwarding what Bush was doing, but correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Obama go into Medicare and take millions? Didn't he defund Medicare to promote his Obamacare? And quite honestly, I don't think President Bush ever did that.
My bet is that the good doctor can go off on Obamacare better than I can.
Right.
No, President Bush didn't do that, and we had a really messed up healthcare system.
Okay.
In that there was the problem with third-party payers and
right.
As a patient, never knowing how much something costs, just knowing that somebody else is going to pay for it. That was a problem. We've just made it far, far worse under Obamacare.
Gosh.
Well, we didn't really have a bad healthcare system. What we really had is a lack of competition of the insurance companies. And when we create a competition with the insurance companies, I promise you the healthcare is not expensive, and the patients will be treated better.
And as we've said already, freebies are not free.
Nothing's free. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us. Randy Simmons, Senior Fellow at the Independent Institute and author of Beyond Politics, The Roots of Government Failure. Thank you for updating your book and re-releasing it, because it is so pertinent to what is happening right now in our country.
Thanks, Randy.
You're welcome.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Okay.
You're listening to American Medicine Today. Make sure you stay tuned, because coming up, we're going to talk U.S. term limits. What's better than that? Stay tuned.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Bermel.
Thank you for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bermel, joined by Ethan Euchre, Jeff Wagstaff.
And actually, my microphone is on, so I will spend a little extra time harassing Ethan for forgetting.
Hang on, let me try that again. Glad to be here.
Thank you. We're so glad to have you join us.
Excellent.
I think it's the first time he's ever done that.
Second in 2 years.
And we've all been here to witness it, too. 2 for 2. And we have world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. He's laughing because normally it's him.
No, hold on. People at home are listening going, what are these knuckleheads doing on the radio?
In the breaks, I really wish we stream the show, but I really wish we could show what happens behind the scenes because we have such a great group of people and it's so much fun. And speaking of fun, what's more fun than talking term limits? It's a topic we often cover here on American Medicine Today. And joining us right now is Nick Tumbledis, the executive director of U.S. Term Limits. The largest grassroots movement in American history, who stands up against government malpractice and look to implement term limits in every governmental office across the land. It's about time. Thank you for being here, Nick.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly. Happy to be here.
Now, this is something that Dr. Bonati has just preached about for years, is how can we impose term limits? I've had a handful of guests on the show to talk about, including constitutional attorneys, law experts. Nobody has given Dr. Bonati an acceptable answer to this. Every time he's like, well, I don't care what you just said. Let's get someone on here to tell me how we can make this happen.
So what do you got, Nick?
So tell us how we can do this, Nick.
Sure. Well, there was a 1995 Supreme Court decision, U.S. Term Limits v. Thornton. Our organization was involved in it. And basically, this is why it's so hard. The Supreme Court ruled that term limits on Congress can only be implemented by constitutional amendments. At the time, they actually threw out 23 states' ballot measures, including right here in Florida, that had implemented term limits that way. They said it needs to be done by constitutional amendment. Now, Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution allows for 2 means of amendment. The first is to have Congress propose the amendment with a 2/3 majority.
That they never will do.
No, they'll never do it. That's like getting chickens to vote for Colonel Sanders. Congress
That's it.
Great analogy. Best analogy I've ever heard about that.
Yeah, right.
Now, thankfully, though, the founders and all of their wisdom gave us another way to do it. It's called the Article 5 Convention. They specifically inserted this into the Constitution to give states a way to bypass Congress and obtain amendments that are not in the politicians' best interest. And the way this works is you have 34 state legislatures pass resolutions applying for a convention to put term limits on Congress. Florida's the first state that did it. We just passed it last month out of the legislature here because
Give it up for Florida.
Round of applause for Florida.
Legislators are just dying to get into Congress. That's their life's goal.
We finally did something right in Florida.
about time.
Mm-hmm.
So the convention is called, the delegates are picked by the states, they're sent there, and they propose a term limits amendment, and then you need 38 states to ratify it. And we have just launched the Term Limits Convention campaign nationwide. We're not stopping in Florida. We're targeting a dozen states this year to get this passed, and we hope to get up to 34 as soon as possible to get this thing going.
Will this also cover Supreme Court justices at some point?
This particular effort will only cover members of the Congress, so
Got
the
it.
House and the Senate.
Okay.
We do support term limits on the Supreme Court, but ultimately we think if the court has to litigate any part of this, we don't want them being in the crosshairs on it. That could get messy.
True. Let me ask you, though, we always hear we need to be extremely cautious of doing something called a constitutional convention. Is there any truth to that?
There is truth that you should be cautious about a constitutional convention. That would mean going ahead and trying to rewrite the whole document, rewrite the basic law. But this is what we're calling for here is just a limited purpose convention to propose a single amendment on a single subject. That's what the states are asking for. So this convention would only have the power to discuss term limits, not every subject under the sun. That's what makes it so different, so unique, and much easier to do than a constitutional convention. That's not what we support.
Oh, brilliant. What's about time that somebody used their brain?
Nick, to get a deal done like that, though, how much stuff is going to get tacked on to it so that by the time, if this convention were to happen, would it be an unlimited agenda by all the things that were tacked on to get to the convention?
No, we don't think so. I mean, there's some case law saying that legally you can hold this convention to a single topic, so they're not really allowed to tack other things onto it. The state of Florida has the ability to recall the delegates that they send to the convention if they're discussing a subject other than term limits. So if they start to veer off the agenda, we can kind of rein them in. So, we don't expect that there's going to be any kind of grand bargain, and they really are constrained by the text of the Constitution from doing that, because you need 38 states to ratify the amendment that comes out of there. So really only ideas like term limits and a balanced budget, things that are very popular, can pass through this process.
And how can we help to increase this information or to tag along to help you guys?
Well, what we're dealing with, Dr. Bonatti, is the country is ready for term limits. We all acknowledge that Washington is completely broken, and we need to do something to fix it now. Congress used to be kind of like the people's legislature. You're supposed to go there, serve for a little while, and then come back to live under the laws you made.
Yes.
But everyone knows that's not the case anymore. The members' egos got bigger, their bank accounts got bigger. They started to think that we were lucky to have them rather than the other way around. So people look at Washington today, see such a bloated, behemoth, they don't even recognize it. But so 85% of the country is ready for change in Congress. They think Congress is doing a bad job. 75% of Americans support term limits on Congress. What we have to do is raise the awareness level on this and get as many people involved as possible in the process to give the politicians no other choice but to deliver term limits for us. And that's what this campaign is all about. If people want to get involved in it, they can go visit us at termlimitsconvention.com.
Okay. Quick question, though. When you say the states select their delegates to the convention, how are they picked again?
You say, how are they picked?
Yes.
That would be a separate piece of legislation that the state legislature passes here in Florida.
Okay.
To select who they want the delegates to be.
I just have a question, though. If the legislation is doing, or the legislators are doing that, do you think then they're kind of going to be sided with them, or maybe they're not going to promote it as heavily as we would want those term limits? Maybe they're somehow in cahoots?
It's possible, but you have to remember that the members of the state legislatures have a very different view of term limits than members of Congress.
Okay.
So if you're a member of Congress, it is in your best interest. It is in the best interest of preserving your career to make sure that this convention never occurs.
Sure.
But this process takes the power out of Congress, and it gives it to people who have self-interest in the opposite direction.
Okay.
Like I mentioned before, you go up to Tallahassee, you talk to anyone up there, they all want to be congressmen one day. They can't do it because they're blocked by career politician incumbents who have been there 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years.
Sure.
So they have an incentive to do the right thing, but we do have to make them aware that this is something we want, and this is something we want action on very soon.
And there's no way to put this type of a concept now on the ballot for the election of the president at the same time in this election?
Unfortunately, Doc, you can't put it on the ballot just because of the way Article 5 of the Constitution works and the whole idea of needing to do it by amendment. We tried to put it on the ballot in the early 1990s. Like I said, we actually put it on the ballot in 23 states, and it passed in all of them. Term limits on those states' members of Congress. And at that point, it looked inevitable that we would get term limits that way, but the court stepped in and said states can't do it with their own laws, their own constitutional amendments. They need to amend the federal Constitution.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing right now.
All right.
Now, this is probably a stupid question, Nick, but for people who don't know, including myself, why from the very beginning of the United States of America weren't their term limits created? I mean, the idea of career politicians from the get-go is just a terrible idea, that once you're in for life, no matter what you do. Just seems like a horrible idea, and they were really smart men that founded this country. Why didn't they think of term limits?
Ethan, that wasn't the view everyone had back then. In fact, Thomas Jefferson, a lot of people don't know, was not at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787. He was actually on a mission to France at that point. But when he first saw the Constitution, he said that the abandonment of what he called rotation in office would end in abuse. He said rotation in office for the Senate and the President. And that was his wording for a mandatory term limit. And Benjamin Franklin actually wrote term limits into the first Constitution of Pennsylvania. So some of the founders were keen to this.
Right.
Others simply thought that you didn't need it. Because back then, I think it was not until 1900 did the average tenure in Congress rise above 2 terms. So it was a voluntary citizen legislature for over 100 years. And part of that is that, Congress, Washington was not the same attractive place to be. There were no huge pensions. There were no private planes. There were no deals getting cut with lobbyists.
It was a different
literally
time.
A swamp back then that people didn't want to go to. They wanted to come back home and return to their lives. But that has changed dramatically. We have the exact opposite today. We have a ruling class that is pampered to the fullest extent, and we really need to pry them out of their seats at this point.
Well, and in fairness, the concept of the career politicians didn't even exist then. It wasn't even a concept.
Not a concept.
All right. Well,
thank you so much, Nick Tumbledees. Did I get that right this time?
Tumbledees.
Tumbledees.
Close enough.
Jeez.
Thanks,
Well,
Tumbledees.
thank you. This is such an important topic, term limits, so that they can't just run amok.
Did that information satisfy you at all, Doc? Or?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like to know is how can we help you and what things you need?
Well, we need to pass this in 34 states. Like I mentioned, Florida has already gotten it passed in February. We were the first one. But citizens in other states need to get active on this. So, I would tell your audience, tell their friends and family to go to termlimitsconvention.com, sign the petition there for term limits. We'll get you involved. We'll let you know how you can help pass this where you're located. So, thanks for having me on.
Great.
Perfect. Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you so
Nick.
much.
Have a great one.
Take care.
Guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Very important topic, so certainly visit that website. Do whatever you can if you're listening.
And speaking of listening, make sure you stay tuned, because on the flip side of the break, we're going to hear what's new in American medicine today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Our senior fellow, Jeff Wagstaff.
Yes, I am.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute.
Here I am.
Let's look at what's new in medicine today, featuring Alfred Bonati, MD.
Okay, well, the topic now is runaway hospital consolidation that's driving up cost and threatening quality of treatment.
Well, what really happened since 1996, the politicians start to block doctors from owning hospitals. Once again, politicians in the hands and in the pockets of the special interests with a lot of money, they start to block the quality of healthcare. In 2012, they had a merge of around 1,000 plus hospitals in the country.
Okay.
And around 2,000 of these hospitals, they become now in a group.
Sure.
So if you start to see the enormous amount of hospitals that they become acquired and they become consolidated, you need to see that together with the idea of consolidate hospitals, they start to damage the private practitioners because they start to control the healthcare on the area, and then the private practitioners start to have problems on their practice.
Right.
And then what happened with that is then suddenly they decide to don't practice independently and then become hospital-bound individuals.
What I'm seeing here is it says 1/5 of the U.S. hospitals are poised to seek a merger within the next 5 years.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening. Initially, they start to acquire hospitals, then they merge hospitals, and now they are abusing the system, and they are going to take as many hospitals and as many opportunities that they have. Well, you need to understand that when that happens, these organizations become monstrous. They start to regulate not only the prices, because, for example, one of the things that happen is the cost of the specialties. Right. Before these hospitals got together, they consolidate. The X amount of dollars was part of the compensation for the specialties. Today, overnight is around 34% higher the cost of the same specialties to treat the patient. At the very end, what happened is that we continue paying the bill for the mistakes of the politicians.
Sure.
Now, the other thing that happens is the hospitals not only are going to intrude in the quality of this healthcare, because they are going to acquire the physicians. And it happens to me. One day I decided to go and see a physician that I was a really good doctor before, and I went to visit him because somebody recommended this physician for an umbilical hernia that needs to be operated.
Right.
Well, when I went to see this man, he was in a small cubicle with a computer in front of him.
Right.
He practically has no desires to see me, no desires to operate on me, and no desires to be kind or polite.
Right.
So that's exactly what happened when you remove competition.
Right.
And the big hospitals and the politicians, they are removing from medicine competition. Once you remove competition, you have bad healthcare. And I thought that we're getting a little wiser here in Florida when they decide that they are going to open the CON, that is the permission to operate hospitals,
sure,
and get rid of the CON, so the physicians can go ahead and create hospitals and create competition again. I thought, wow, the Floridian politicians are getting smarter. Well, I was dreaming, because what happened is the idea of remove this CON from the market and allow physicians to create hospitals or improve the quality of healthcare to the patients in the community.
Right.
Well, was washed out immediately, because the special interests in the hospitals, they went and they put money on their pockets.
Sure.
And the next thing that happens is that law never passed. But yes, passed one other law. The law that they passed is that the physicians, the nurse practitioners and the physician assistants can practice now and delivering medications, including narcotics. They just came with something that they were complaining bitterly in the news, saying that the amount of narcotics that are being dispensed by these organizations or these institutions, that they are pain management, whole thing like that. They say the use of OxyContin is enormous and the whole thing. Well, guess what? They allow family physicians, they allow family nurse practitioners and physician assistants to prescribe narcotics.
Right.
So are you telling me, isn't this dumb? Yes. Now, the next thing that's happened, you're going to see that the increase of these narcotics is going to be enormous, because for a nurse practitioner and for the family and the physician assistant to prescribe medications of that quality, they're going to do it.
I also see in here that they said recent findings indicate that if there's a merger of two hospitals that are located near each other, prices are going to increase by 40%.
Yeah, but it's normal, because when you do that, you remove the competition.
Sure.
Now, as soon as you consolidate this institution, then it's only one group.
So why do they keep allowing these hospitals to merge? Doesn't that kind of create a monopoly?
Well, but I think what you're saying, why?
Yes.
Well, it's very simple. This is the special interest working in conjunction with the politicians. And the politicians, they don't care what they gave to you, to society. They care only one thing: how much money you're going to put in their pockets. And that is why today we have a tremendous amount of political disgruntled, and that's why the amount of people that they are going to Trump is enormous, because he is looking for us.
And that's a look at what's new in medicine today with Alfred Bonatti, MD.
Well, that about wraps things up on American Medicine Today. Make sure you stay tuned and check us out weekly here on News Radio 970. For our affiliates, you want to make sure you continue to stay tuned because we'll have something special just for you. Make sure you tweet at Dr. Bonatti using hashtag American Medicine Today. And if you or anyone you know is suffering with massive migraines, neck, back, or leg pain, reach out to the Bonatti Spine Institute at Bonatti.com. That about wraps things up. Bye-bye.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.